What? Okay, I am seeing some polarizing titles. Oh my god. Tons of Xbox next-gen console leaks reveal full PC power, no paywall, and Xbox isn't dead. Obviously, this guy is an Xbox fan. Then I'm seeing this, the end of Xbox. This guy doesn't like Xbox because of the recent bullshit. Oh my god. And Bellular News also came out with whatever this is. I'm not sure. Xbox is over, now we know who is responsible? Look, I know this is not... I'm not going to consider this an official reaction for me to actually separate, but I will make sure to put this there. Xbox is over, now we know who is responsible by Bellular News. Fine. Well, watch this one.
Of Dutch, because I play WoW with Dutch people. I love the place, love my time there especially. 30% profit margin. Lock that into your brain because it's what we're talking about today, because it's the number that is destroying Xbox right now. And that's because Microsoft demands that Xbox hits this target every single year. But here's the thing. The games industry is not the enterprise software as a service industry. And that basically means that Phil, Sarah, and the squad are dragging a humongous anchor. One that their competitors don't have to, and if they struggle, they know it's going to be bad. Today's story exists because we finally know why Xbox has been burning everything to the ground. And to understand that, here's what the old Xbox was like according to Bloomberg. Game makers weren't asked to hit specific numerical targets. They were told to focus on making the best games possible without worrying too much about finances. So, the Xbox that wanted to compete for its space in this industry, it is dead. The new Xbox, well, it is a profit machine that will...
Yep. There's no other way of saying it, bro. It only likes to profit and profit and profit and profit. It's what it did. That's what they did, and they actually succeeded in it. This is the reason why Xbox is becoming underappreciated anymore, and they're becoming the underdogs, even if they're considered to actually make premium shit. They are making good shit, but it's premium too much. Premium to the point. It is not helping them.
Will destroy just about everything to hit its 30% target. That could be your favorite studio. It could be that game you're waiting for. It could be the entire concept of exclusive games. All of these sacrificed for one impossible goal set 2 years ago by their owners at Microsoft. Now, with all that's going on, I'm learning a touch of Dutch because I play WoW with Dutch people. I love the place, love my time there, especially in Efteling. And today's sponsor, Babbel, is how I am learning.
It's really great. It's really actually great.
Breaking down those language barriers, and that's at babbel.com/Bellular. To get a bit of tone in this, I need to go back to something from 2021. You see, then, Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, allegedly considered closing down Xbox, just stopping, getting out of games. Now, for what it's worth, Microsoft does deny this, but we do know something important, that even in 2020, Nadella was working out ways to increase Xbox's value to Microsoft. Now, this wasn't happening in a vacuum, and sometimes opportunities just happen to land in your lap, such as, well, Activision. And Bobby Kotick tells the story here. In 2020, Bobby reached out to his good mate Satya to help to buy TikTok. But rather than buy the brain rot machine, Nadella pulled Uno reverse and said, how about we buy you instead? And of course, 2 years later, Kotick was ready to sell. And they sorted out a deal within 3 days that was worth
Bobby Kotick. Yep.
$75.4 billion. And as 2023 closed, the real chaos started. People expected some staff reductions at ABK from the merger. What they got was 1,900 people fired in one round, which was...
That was alarming. That is absolutely alarming. Things were beginning to change, and probably not for the better. Layoffs like this are a bad sign.
8% of the new Xbox, and as we go on to find out, it was just the beginning of the roller coaster. The last 2 years have been goddamn brutal. Thousands of staff are gone, studios like The Initiative and Tango Gameworks have been shuttered or sold, projects cancelled left and right, and all of that is before the price hikes. The consoles cost more, Games Pass costs way more, everything costs more, even though throughout all of this,
Yep.
Phil Spencer and his team kept saying the same thing. Quote, we have more players, games, and gaming hours than ever before. Our platform, hardware, and game roadmap have never looked stronger.
I really hate the fact that corporate folks recognize the potential that gamers bring into an industry at all, but I hate it that they have to use that fact to manipulate how the market is. And we are suffering as gamers. We are suffering as the consumer. Considering that we wanted to actually we wanted to get a taste of their services, and this is what they do to us. They slash people out of their jobs. all because they wanted to actually profit because we're playing their games. Sure, they've actually seen that we're interested in their games, but they don't have to actually do this to us. Seriously, I'm a PC guy, and even I'm affected by this. I'm not playing any Xbox thing at all. I don't play the Game Pass. I definitely am not benefiting myself into what Xbox is giving when it comes to Game Pass. No. I'm not into that. But considering that this thing is happening, it is just no. I did not see the issues entirely until to the point that it really just blows over with the price hikes, and it's now I see where the connection is. Just goddamn. This is a horrible way to proceed. This is a horrible way to proceed with Xbox right now.
And that really didn't make sense to us, given everything else that we saw. I mean, how could Xbox be at its best ever while having to make humongous cuts to its staffing? Well, now we've got the answer. It comes from one decision that was made in 2023, and it comes from a new character to this story. Full credit to Bloomberg for getting the scoop on this. And here's the story. Since autumn 2023, Microsoft Chief Financial Officer Amy Hood had set a target for Xbox, and that was that they must maintain a 30%, quote, accountability margin. Yes, an accountability margin. So, if you don't hit that, you're in deep trouble. And what that basically means is that it's Microsoft's term for profit margin on individual segments within the business. And here's the simple version. Whatever revenue Xbox makes from consoles...
What I hate when it comes to corporate speaks is that you change up the term and you know what it means. I hate that you have to use very obscure language just for you to hide the fact that you're doing something sneaky with your own goals in your own company, just so people will not catch on. They are relentless. Clearly, the one who actually set the 30% to be achieved no matter what does not care if Xbox would eventually hurt the consumer. Eventually, they actually do not care about
games and subscriptions. The cost of doing that has got to be 30% less than what they bring in. And look, that is how big companies work. If you're not making profit, you're an Ubisoft. And then investors do start getting a little bit itchy, thinking about, should we do a hostile takeover? Should we, do some private equity and gut you like a fish? Of course, even in gaming, you do actually need enough profit that one bad game won't literally kill your whole company, or that one failed deal won't do similar. Looking at you, Embracer Group. But here's the problem. A 30% margin on first-party game services is very much where eyebrows go up. And to get a handle on that, I want you to take a guess. What do you think Nintendo's profit margin is? What do you think PlayStation's profit margin is? Have a number in your head, and I'll tell you in a moment. But first, we need to talk about what this target has done to Xbox, because it does explain everything. Every quarter, Xbox leadership looks at their results, and if they don't see a 30% profit margin, they have a simple equation to balance. Cut things to get the margin. In Microsoft's eyes, Xbox is a group that is spending more than they are making, and that needs to change. That means less spending in staff. That means cancel support for third-party studios, like, say, the Romeros, who just got utterly fucked.
It breaks my heart to say that Romero Games fell victim to 9,100 Microsoft layoffs today.
Right?
Damn.
Awful stuff. This is them literally being forced to break contracts with studios that have hired and paid for staff based on those active contracts. Crazy stuff. There have been cancelled projects that Xbox leadership loved, like ZeniMax's Project Blackbird. And the reason why is that they won't generate profits in the short term. Now, you might be able to understand that if you just try to juice your margin in the short term, it probably means you're underinvesting in your future. And that can mean you get outcompeted over time. And this is actually one of the reasons why competition is a good thing, because competition actually exists to decrease profit margins by forcing companies to spend more money fighting for their consumers, and that's why we, the consumers, are supposed to win. Hell, the games industry is one built off loss leaders. Loss leaders are obviously something they can't have anymore. As an example, dev kits for AAA companies are not sold at a loss. They just increase the price humongously. For reporting houses, it's the same.
Dev kits, holy shit, dude. They're that valuable now? God damn.
Deal. Now, the good news is that indies can still get free dev kits from their ID at Xbox program, but those big corporate spends of trying to help their partners develop good shit for their platform, well, those are now a lot more expensive for the developers and publishers. Basically, Xbox's spending has got to change every year so that it stays within that tight 30% margin target. And it's all because of this mandate set by Amy Hood 2 years ago. And for this, the timing and the context matters, because everything changed around the time of the big acquisition. The date is the most important thing here, and it is fall 2023. That is right when the Activision Blizzard acquisition closed. And we've talked about this idea before, that the spending on the deal got Microsoft to actually pay attention to Xbox. Now, in some ways, that was good stuff. They now get Call of Duty money, but 75 billion deal value. That's quite a lot of billions. But that's not the only thing that happened, because from 2023, Microsoft got really excited about AI, and that meant they started regretting something. They kind of wish.
You use AI for any type of game development, and this is actually real, okay? You use AI for any type of game development at all, and you get lazy, you stop thinking for yourself, you basically stop learning the tricks to shit, and it degrades the quality of the game. You absolutely depend on AI performance to actually write the code and think for you. That is you not working, okay? That is you being lazy. Absolutely, it is you just being lazy, alright? Damn. What did they think was going to happen? Usage of AI.
That Activision Blizzard King money was going into funding more data centers. And the Bloomberg report does reinforce this, because before that date, teams did not worry about hitting arbitrary performance targets. The notion of investing a lot of money now in something that would get more money later was a healthy enough thing at the company. But then there was a corporate shift in how the business was ran and how it produced games. And here's a curious thing. It comes from Ethan Gatch writing for Kotaku, and he noticed a parallel. That Activision's operating margin was 32% the quarter before the deal closed. Did Microsoft just
32?
look at that and think, oh, if Activision can do it, we can as well? Which of course would be an insane thing, because Activision was, in many ways, Bobby's finely oiled Call of Duty machine. So of course it was designed to be pretty damn profitable. It's a little bit different from being a first-party player in the industry. Though I need to note that there's a lot of looseness in how margins even get calculated, and that's because operating margin doesn't always include non-product spending. That means things like tax. But take a look at some of these numbers. In 2022, Activision's net income versus total revenue was 20%. In 2021, it was 31%, and it fluctuated between 20 and 30% in prior years. You can almost connect the dots where Microsoft looks at their new acquisition with an incredibly high profit margin, and then they look at their existing game division and think, we expect more. And in some ways, yeah, sure, look at they screwed Halo and screwed so many things since the Xbox One era. But look, you can say a lot about Bobby Kotick's Activision Blizzard. You really can, and I have. But above all else, I think we can all agree it was a finely tuned money-making machine. It wasn't a finely tuned game-making machine because, let's be real, they made fewer and fewer different franchises as time went on. They essentially optimized everything into the things that they were running that did appear to be working well. And coming off the COVID boom especially, they basically found themselves with live service games that were massive money spinners. But they also had not been investing much in new games for the long-term future, because that's not what they, as a third party, were optimized for. But the thing is, you cannot apply their logic to a first party like Xbox, because even Nintendo and PlayStation do not work that way. Remember the profit margin numbers I asked you to guess? Well, here are the answers. Nintendo's net profit margin last year was 23.9%. The year before, it was 29.3%. Pretty awesome. But that's because Nintendo are laser focused like Activision, and even with that, they cannot consistently hit 30%.
Damn. That's why Nintendo was jacking up their prices back then, too. Their services are actually that good. Shit, dude.
Oh, they had 8.8% and then 6.7% respectively.
Wait, where? Hold on.
PlayStation is like Activision, and even with that, they cannot consistently hit 30%. As for PlayStation, oh, they had 8.8% and then 6.7% respectively.
Really?
This is pretty rough. Now, these guys are Xbox's closest competitors. They are mass-market console producers representing opposite ends of the spectrum. And Bloomberg notes that the industry average ranges from 17 to 22%, and that Xbox was resting between 10 and 20%. So, it's not unreasonable for Microsoft to ask Xbox to increase margins, especially since the division hasn't really worked that well since the Xbox 360 era. But there's a problem with that, and that problem is the size of the increase they were asking for and the timing. Mandating Xbox to hit 30% within a few years is healthy and reasonable. That is them growing the business. But just demanding 30% now, regardless of what you're going to lose in hitting.
Exactly. Demanding that much progress at such a short period of time, there will be a lot more changes. than just doing the layoffs. God damn.
That. Well, that creates chaos, as we have all seen. It creates an Xbox that cannot do long-term planning. I mean, at what stage do we just look at Phil Spencer and think, wow, that guy's a liar? Now, from everything I understand, he's one of the last, like him and Sarah Bond, were some of the last forces seemingly holding the worst shit at bay. But you can imagine from their perspective, every plan that they make seemingly gets destroyed by these insane targets that have been given to them. Just take exclusive games as an example. Halo Campaign Evolved and Forza Horizon 6 were announced to launch on the PS5. And the reason why is simple. Xbox had a long-term plan. That plan was to make Game Pass great value using a credit system so the developer sales were not a factor, even with them having waning console sales. But now they need the 30% target. And with that, games need to be more profitable, and they need to be more profitable faster. And that means launching on the biggest console, where any amount of sales will help move that needle. But, of course, what it also will do is completely seed their ground.
Oh, yeah.
Hardware space. Because right now, to buy an Xbox is foolish. Just buy a PlayStation. It's a better console with a better games library, and a games library that's going to include all the Microsoft stuff. So why even bother with Xbox? And what that does is it tanks their hardware sales. It makes Xbox, as the platform that most consumers understand it, look completely directionless. Like they've got no clear plan to actually compete in the game space. They have a plan to make money off games, but not a plan to compete in the way that we would want them to. In the way that would, force PlayStation to be better. And here's the thing. They're not just competing in the game space. They're competing inside Microsoft. Okay, so remember when I flagged Satya Nadella at the start of this video? Well, this year, our boy Satya is getting a pay rise of 22% up to 96.5 million in total comp.
Oh.
Well done, Satya. Now, GameFile spotted something goddamn interesting. That Xbox just met their revenue growth target for the first time since 2021, where they achieved 15% content and services revenue growth against a 14% goal. Happy days, and that sure made the CEO get his lovely stock-based payout. Every other year, other divisions made their goals and kept Nadella happy, but Xbox did not. Now, in theory, this would mean that he would have personal incentive to improve Xbox, because if all the divisions are doing better, then, well, the board can better justify increases in his compensation. Now, in reality, it's all part of the same system. It's all part of Microsoft. And it's a system that we suggested means that Microsoft doesn't really care about Xbox that much. And the reason is that they don't care about Xbox as a division that makes games as a part of the games industry. They care about Xbox as a division that makes profits within Microsoft. Those are two
completely different things. Oh no. Oh no. Now I know why there is an absolute disconnect between Microsoft and Xbox. Microsoft thinks that Xbox is a money-making machine for Microsoft. Oh shit, that's a completely different perspective, bro. Yeah, this is not good. Microsoft, you gotta speak to them more. And change your perspective on Xbox. This is just... No. You gotta change your perspective, Microsoft. You've got to change your perspective here.
Different missions for Xbox. And for us on the outside, it means they have fundamentally changed. It means that they are now a junior competitor against the likes of PlayStation. And it means that we can no longer expect them to take as big swings, to try to define the future of the industry, to change its direction, to drive new types of hardware, new experiences, to do interesting shit that furthers games as a medium. That won't happen. Because what they need to do is generate profit for their overall entity. An entity that really doesn't give a shit about games. And on the topic, do you know what's an existential threat to a company? Cocking up your GTA killing game so much that just shy of 100 staff have done a big open letter against you. It is quite the story, bit of a hilarious shit show, pretty bad for the people involved, and you can learn all about it in this video next.
God damn. Guys, it's already bad enough that you're trying to hit a profit margin and then you just go ahead and... God damn. Oh. Dude, I don't know. It's just... We're at a horrible time right now. We are at a horrible time right now in which we now know why Xbox has become so shitty. It's just... God damn.